going on, everyone? This is Lucas Ross Sports, and it's Lucas Ross, your commentator here, and it's time to kick off our 2022 college football predictions. We kick off with the Boston College Eagles. We're going to give you our thoughts on this team, give an official prediction for 2022, go through the schedule, go game by game, and we'll go from there. But before we do that, let's look back at 2021 for this Boston College team. In 2021, Boston College went 6-6. This is a team that wants to improve that record this season. They were supposed to play a bowl game last year, but got canceled at the end of the year. They were supposed to play Western Carolina, but this is a team that went 6-6. But they want to improve that record probably to 7 wins, maybe 8 wins on the year. But this is going to be a really young team this year. Good news is you get Phil Jerkoff back at quarterback. He's a winning quarterback. I mean, wonder how the season's going to go for him in 2022. We'll see what he looks like in that offense. You see the overall offensive and defensive rankings last year. This is a 93rd offense in the country. Something to improve on this year. And then there's that defense. The defense was really good last year, 31st in the country. There's a little bit of question marks on the defense this year. Both sides of the ball are a little bit of question here for this Boston College team. You see the points per game last year. Boston College averaged 24.7 points a game for the offense. Defensively, they gave up 22.2 points a game. Defense was really solid last year. The offense has a lot of question marks. There's just a lot of question marks on both sides of the ball for this Boston College team this year. They're going to be really young. As you see the production down there from this year, they'll be really young, but we'll see how the schedule plays out for them. And here is the schedule for 2022 for Boston College. You see that opening game against the Rutgers on September the 3rd. Interesting matchup to start out the year against a Big Ten opponent. The Rutgers should be really good this year. They return about a really good amount of production from last year's offense. The offense will be really good, not explosive, but I think this will be a back-and-forth game. I think this will be a really close game that Boston College can hang around with. But the question is, how will their defense compete? That is the question. The defense, does return quite a bit from last year, but not quite, a lot. The defense have to, just really see what they have to look like this year. For the Rutgers, I give them the advantage with the production percentage here, and that's why I had to go with the Rutgers to win the game against Boston College. So, the Eagles will start out 0-1 on the season. That is a tough one to, kick off as well against a Big Ten opponent. The good news is this game is at home, but, I went back and forth on this game so many times, and I had to, make an official prediction on this one, and I had to go with the Rutgers. Not saying the Rutgers will win the game, but I'm just saying that is the prediction I had for them, and I think the Rutgers will win that one. But Boston College will start out 0-1, and there's that game against Virginia Tech on the road. Virginia Tech does lose quite a bit on the offense. They're going to be a young offense this year, and the defense does return half and half a little bit. But this Virginia Tech team, overall, this is on the road. It's going to be a tough game to play here for, Boston College. Both teams' offenses, I think, will struggle in this game. I think both defenses will be good. But overall, the production percentage, I give it to Virginia Tech. And I also give home field advantage to the Virginia Tech in this one. So I'm going to have to go with Virginia Tech. I think they will pull off the win here, not by a blowout. I think it's going to be a defensive battle like it was last year. But overall, the production percentage, I give it to Virginia Tech ahead. And that's why I try to be consistent with these predictions with the production they have coming back. You got to look at that and, you got to say, maybe this will be the win. No, it's going to be a team that with the most production coming back, I think it's going to be that team that wins it. So the Boston College does take care of business against Maine. They get their first win of the year, and they will take care of business. That's a game that Boston College should win after starting 0-2, but that's a game that they should take care of business in. They don't really have to be close with them. And then there's that game against Florida State on the road. Florida State's going to be a really good team this year. They have a lot coming back. This was a really close game last year as well between these two teams. Boston College ended up losing by 3 to Florida State last year. And Florida State should be a really good team. They have a lot coming back on defense, and I think that's why this game will be really not even close in the second half. I think Boston College will hang around in there for a few minutes, and then it will be all Florida State. Their offense does return quite a bit as well. Florida State has a great defense coming back this year. And Florida State might be one of the top 3, teams out of the Atlantic Division this year. But who knows what will happen. And I had to go with Florida State to win this one. So I got the Seminoles beating Boston College. Not saying by a blowout, but I think it's going to be all Florida State in the second half. Then they get to the month of October. They're 1-3 on the year. They have back-to-back home games here against Louisville and Clemson. Louisville's going to be a team that, people want to keep an eye on. Louisville's going to have a great offense this year. They return almost everybody back on offense. And then you got Cunningham back at quarterback. He's coming back this year. So that's a big return there for Louisville. That's going to be a big, interesting challenge there for Boston College. Good news is this game is at home. It's a winnable game, but I give the returning production percentage again to Louisville. I think Louisville will pull off the win here, but not saying it's going to be a blowout. I'm not saying it's going to be all games are going to be blowouts here for Boston College. This schedule is tough. It's really tough this season for Boston College because you have to kick off against the Rutgers and you're playing against non-conference teams that are really tough. But Louisville does win this one. I'm not saying it's going to be a blowout, but I think Louisville will win that one. I just give the offensive advantage as well to Louisville. And then there's that game against Clemson at home, October the 8th. This one is a really tricky game here. Clemson's defense will be a little bit down this year, but overall it's Clemson. You can't really doubt them a lot this year. They're really trying to really redeem themselves after a hard season last year. And I think Clemson will, win this one. Just saying their offense will be explosive this year. DJ Ogilvy back at quarterback. He's probably going to be better this year, but we'll see how this plays out. But it's definitely not going to be a blowout. But I think Boston College will hang around a little bit, but Clemson will pull away. That's why I have them winning this game. Boston College does get a bye week now. In the month of October here, they will play Wake Forest on the road. That'll be a really interesting matchup here as well, but Wake Forest should be a lot improved from last year as well. They had a really good season, and Wake Forest does return really good production this year on their side of the ball. They returned half and half of their starters on offense from last year. Defensively, they're going to be a little bit of question marks, but I think this will be still a great team to watch, and I think Wake Forest will pull off the win here. I think Boston College will hang around a little bit, but at the end of the day, I think it's home field advantage for Wake Forest, and the production percentage just right there for Wake Forest as well, so they get the win there. And there's that game against UConn on the road. This is a non-conference game, but this is not going to be an easy game. When you play on the road, it's always tough to play on the road in college football. But Boston College, maybe it should take care of business, but they're 1-6 on the year here. But I think they will get a win finally on October the 29th. First win since that main game on September the 17th. But they finally get a win here against UConn. UConn wasn't that great last year. Let's be honest. They weren't that great. But, Boston College should be able to win this game. If they lose this game, it's going to be a really tough stretch for them. And then there's that game against Duke on November the 4th here in the month of November. They get Duke here. It's a lot of question marks surrounding Duke this year. Duke is probably going to be not one of the worst teams in the ACC this year, probably second to last, but there's just a lot of question marks surrounding Duke. This team lost quite a bit last year, and there's just a lot of question marks. Plus, this game is at home for Boston College, and I think they will win this game. I'm not saying it's going to be probably a blowout. I think Duke will hang in there, but I think Duke is going to really not be that great of a team this year. I'm not saying they're going to be bad, but I'm not saying they're going to be good or anything like that. But I just think there's a lot of question marks surrounding Duke this year. And then back-to-back road games. These are two tough road games here for Boston College. NC State on the road and then Notre Dame on the road. So NC State's going to be a really good team this year. This is a team that was an underdog last year. This is a team that can really get back into the ACC caliber. But NC State is just going to be a really tremendous team. I don't see Boston College hanging around in this game. It's on the road as well. It's a tough place to play. I think NC State will win that one. And then there's that game against Notre Dame on the road. Notre Dame's got a new head coach. The offense does lose quite a lot this year. The defense, though, they return half and half a little bit on that defensive side. Almost all their returning production. But at the end of the day, Notre Dame gets the home field advantage, and they don't have the returning production percentage, but with the game being on the road, I just see Notre Dame winning this one because I think it's just the home field advantage will get there for them, and I think Notre Dame will win. And that's a tough stretch there for Boston College. This schedule is not that easy for the Eagles this year. And then there's that final home game against Syracuse. Syracuse returns a lot this year as well. Don't sleep on this Syracuse team, but they do lose quite a little bit on the offensive side, but they do return really good production overall in defense. And that's why the returning production, I give it to Syracuse, and that's why I'm going to pick Syracuse to win. But I'm not saying it's going to be a blowout. This one is going to go back and forth, and it will be a back and forth contest between these two teams. But Syracuse gets the win, and the final prediction here for Boston College comes out to be 3-9. Not a good year for Boston College to start out the season. There are some winnable games, though. Don't sleep on that Rutgers game yet. That's a winnable game. Virginia Tech's a winnable game. I know that game is on the road, but it's still a winnable game because Virginia Tech, the production coming back for them is not good. Louisville, though, that's another winnable game right there. And then there's that game against Syracuse. But Wake Forest, Clemson, Florida State, I don't really see those being all that wins, but you never know what can happen. You never know what can happen in college football. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Our college football predictions are beginning this year. We have a long road ahead of us, but we will get started here. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Give me your thoughts on this Boston College team down in the comments below. What do you think their record will be in 2022? And stay tuned here for more on Lucas Ross Sports.